My husband, M36, has been in the hospital for weeks. He just got discharged but he needs home care. We got him a nurse, to be able to monitor his medical devices. His nurse comes over to handle stuff like catheter and cannula insertions and medication intake. I've noticed she's been acting a bit rude and overstepping by trying to tell me when to enter my bedroom where my husband's staying or when the kids get to come in. I already told her how I felt about her attitude and she claimed she was just doing her job making sure my husband is getting enough rest. Yesterday, my parents came over to visit my husband since they'd been planning to come for a while but couldn't find time. I opened the door for them and lead them towards the bedroom. The minute we walked in, the nurse started redirecting us outside. I was confused. I asked what TF she was doing and she told me she was in the middle of removing my husband's catheter and this wasn't a time for a visit. I nearly laughed but she forced us out and shut the door. I was fuming. I had my parents go into the living room, then came back and started arguing with her. She told me that my husband was in a vulnerable state and needed privacy, and she as his nurse simply provided it to him and had my visitors go wait outside. I told her this is my home, my bedroom, and those were my parents coming over to see my husband and check in on him. So they were his visitors as well. She told me it wasn't the right time for a visit, but I told her that she's in my home and she was overstepping by trying to dictate who is and who isn't allowed in to see my husband. I told her I'd report her for this attitude and she kept saying that she was just trying to do her job and told me to go ask my husband about how he felt about having people see him in such state. I asked her to leave. Then after my parents were done with their visit, I tried to talk to my husband. He told me he did feel like his privacy was violated and that I was being too harsh on the nurse. I told him that my parents were worried sick and wanted to see him. He said this wasn't the right time and basically backed the nurse up. We got into an argument over this and then he told me to let it go and let the nurse do her job, but I said that she keeps acting aggressively and like I was some outsider in my own home. I, 34F, am currently about 6 months pregnant. I am pregnant with me and my husband's second child. Me and my mill honestly have a pretty bitter relationship. She doesn't approve of me or my family background. When I was having my first child, my husband had asked me if I had considered letting my mill be in the delivery room. I told him absolutely not, and afterwards he never really brought it up. I ended up having my husband and my mother there with me as support. Me and my husband are now discussing about who I want in the delivery room, and I told him I was fine with the same arrangement I had last time. My husband was clearly not happy about the decision as I could clearly hear him mumbling something under his breath. I asked if he had a problem with the arrangement. He actually spoke and claimed he did. He stated it was massively unfair that I would allow my mother in the delivery room but not his. He mentioned that since I got to choose who was in the delivery room last time, he should get to choose who gets to be inside of the room this time. I told him he was insane if he thought I would let his mother see me in extreme pain. It would be an incredibly uncomfortable situation. He was incredibly upset and left the house. I've been trying his friends to see if they have seen him recently but without any luck. I contacted my mill but she said she had absolutely no idea that my husband wanted her in the delivery room in the first place and that she hasn't heard from him in a while. I am honestly kind of freaking out, both from stress and guilt. I am worried that my husband isn't okay, but I also can't help but to feel guilty that I drove him away. I don't know if I should stay with my current decision anymore. Next story. So me, 24F, and my friend, 24F, bought this massive flat in Manchester. Like, it has 4 bedrooms and there are only 2 of us, so we both made a deal that we could have family stay with us as long as we tell the other person, and we had that rule for quite some time and it was fine. I have known this friend for years, so that's why we moved in together. And out of nowhere one day my brother sends me a message saying that he and his family are having some financial trouble and asked if they could stay with me and my friend. I asked my friend and she said it was alright as always. So I tell my brother he can stay, but for 2 weeks max, because she had family coming to visit and it wouldn't be fair on her. The next day my brother and his family come over, and when I say family, it's him, his wife, and their 3 kids aged 4, 7 and 9. I give all 3 of them a tenner each to go buy something from the shop. We let them both get settled in their room and then we have a meeting to set some rules. 1. Don't go into my friend's room. 2. Don't go into my room. And 3. Don't take anything without asking. We say this to everyone who stays with us, so it wasn't like we were doing anything out of the normal. The first couple of days it was fine until one day I was out and I get a call from my friend saying that someone went into her room. I go back to the flat and tell her it was probably one of the kids and we would talk to them later, and we do with my brother and his wife saying to keep the kids out of her room, and again the evening is fine. The next day I'm at home in my room when my friend walks in crying. I ask what's wrong and she explains that someone went into her room again and wrecked her painting she was doing and had also smashed some pictures frames, and it looks like someone was climbing around on her desk. I immediately say sorry and condole her and tell her I would sort it out. I call my brother and tell him and his family to get home now. When he gets home I tell him they need to get out. They both look at me shocked and I tell them, "We set rules and your kids ignored them. You should have taken control of your kids and now you need to leave." They both look at me shocked and I show them what the kids had done, and again I tell them to get out of my flat. Thankfully they do without a fight, but obviously, my brother has told the family and now some of my family are calling me an asshole for kicking my brother and his family out. Next story. So I, 18, had to surgically remove my eye a short while ago and I am still wearing an eye patch. I worked up the courage to go to prom and I was super scared of being bullied of this one boy, Mike, who has always been a dick to me. Well, it happened. He constantly came over and made really mean comments about my eye and also related to my boyfriend Jacob. He wasn't there cause caretaker responsibilities. Last thing he said was, mockingly, "Ah, did Jacob's big nose poke your eye out?" After that, I just lost it and started crying. The guidance counselor took me to her office and tried to calm me down. They also brought my friends there for a few minutes to avoid escalation. I demanded that Mike be removed from the event because he was being a bully. My counselor tried calling his parents but couldn't reach them, and told me that since Mike is not 18 yet, they cannot remove him from the event without an adult. She then told me that since I am 18, if I do not feel comfortable staying there with him, I was free to leave, and she would even call me an Uber if I wanted to. I was furious that she suggested I leave to make the bully more comfortable, while I did nothing wrong and Mike is the one who should be forced to leave. The "no leaving alone if below 18 inches" rule also makes no sense because Mike's house is across the street. She then gave me the "I don't make the rules" crap, and I told her that if she doesn't have what it takes to protect her students, she is a failure at her job and should quit in favor of someone who can. I talked about this with my BF, and while did have a few choice words for Mike, he told me that while he understands my frustration and my response at the moment, he thinks the counselor was not at fault. I am very open to apologizing to her if I see that other objective people also believe the same thing my BF does. Next story. Throwaway account and some background info at the start. I've 49F. Lived next door to our current neighbors for about 3 years. They're nice people and my husband and I are both friendly with them. They have 3 kids, A, L and E, M and F. L and E are around my daughter, H's age, 21, and they both became good friends with her, so we know them quite well. But A had moved out for college by the time we moved to this street, so we didn't really get to meet him until about a year ago. I'd say A is 24/25 of a year old. During that time, A became good friends with my daughter and they kept in touch. A few months ago my daughter mentioned that A had invited her to a prestigious piano concert he was a part of. She seemed excited to attend. She plays the piano too, but more as a hobby, and obviously we had no problem with it. She's mature enough to make her own decisions. The problem arose because a couple of weeks after that, a very, very close family friend of ours invited us to their son's wedding and insisted all 3 of us attend. H had no issue until she realized the wedding was the same day as A's piano concert. H told us that she had to attend A's concert and unfortunately would not be able to attend the wedding. Her dad was okay with it, but I insisted that she had to attend the wedding as that family is very close to us, much closer than A's family. She kept refusing and said that she herself is much closer to A than the person getting married, and she'd already told us she'd be attending. I compromised and said that she can go to the wedding during the day and then leave for the concert later, but she said no because by the time the wedding finished and she drove to the concert, it'd pretty much be over. We ended up RSVPing just for the 2 of us. Well, the wedding concert day was recently and my daughter went to A's concert. My husband and I went to the wedding and my friend kept saying how sad she was that H doesn't find time for us anymore. I was embarrassed but kept my cool. The next day, I told H that she embarrassed us by not attending the wedding of a longtime friend and someone she's known for years. H got defensive and said that for her attending the concert was a priority and it was just unfortunate that they both fell on the same day, to which I replied that she needs to get her priorities in check and realize that a decades-long friend is a lot more important than some random guy's concert. She stormed out of the house and stayed the night with a friend. She came back later but is refusing to speak to me. My husband is saying I went too far, but while my words might have been a bit harsh, I think it was an important lesson for her.